Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. We kick off today with the latest example of an enterprise declaring their intention to move into the AI space, with Volkswagen, who say that they are planning to invest $1.2 billion into AI capabilities by the end of the decade. The company says that the focus will be on enhanced AI-supported vehicle development, industrial applications, and expanding their IT infrastructure, basically the full range of things that you can use AI for. Said Hawk Stars, member of the Board of Management for IT, AI is our key to greater speed, quality, and competitiveness across the entire value chain, from vehicle development to production. Our ambition, no process without AI. Volkswagen said they anticipate $5 billion in savings by 2035 from increased efficiencies and cost reductions. And what's cool about this is not just the big number, but the breadth of the ambition, that idea of no process without AI. The company says that they currently have more than 1,200 AI applications in use and several hundred more in development. Now they're trying to scale those processes up. One of the key initiatives is to make an AI-powered engineering application available globally to their engineers across all group brands. Volkswagen said that this, in combination with other initiatives, are expected to slash vehicle development time from 3 years to 2 years. Now, there are no shortage of companies who are articulating their AI plans, but I think what's interesting about this particular instance is the totality of the goal here. Next up, if you are worried about an AI bubble, well, Oracle says that's fine, but we're just going to keep on cashing our checks. The company has provided fairly insane revenue growth as part of their earnings report. Now, Oracle's earnings came in soft with a minor miss on revenue, but sky-high forecasts knocked analysts out of their seats. Oracle announced a 359% year-over-year increase on their contract backlog to reach $455 billion. CEO Safra Catz said that the company had signed 4 multi-billion-dollar contracts across 3 different customers in just the past quarter. The projected revenue is broken down across a 5-year scaling forecast. They expect cloud infrastructure revenue to almost double to $18 billion this year and double in each of the subsequent 4 years. That means Oracle is projecting $144 billion in infrastructure revenue for 2030, an 8x increase from where they expect to be at the end of this year. John DiFucci of Guggenheim Securities said that he was, quote, blown away by the forecast. And while the projection is eye-popping, it doesn't seem to be just based on random hype. This is a measure of contracts that are signed but not yet fulfilled, stretching out for years. Now, of course, there's no guarantee that all of this revenue will come in, but it is at least a measure based on planning and contracting across the sector. During the earnings call, Brad Zelnick of Deutsche Bank remarked, "We're all kind of in shock in a very good way. There's no better evidence of a seismic shift happening in computing than these results you just put up." The projection sent Oracle stock up 27% in after-hours trading, which is just a massive jump for a company already worth more than $500 billion. Google's cloud division is also forecasting a huge revenue boost over the coming years as well. Cloud CEO Thomas Kurian said that the division has up to $106 billion in commitments from existing customers that they're yet to fulfill. He said that at least half of those contracts, around $58 billion worth, are expected to be fulfilled and turned into revenue within 2 years. Of the backlog, Kurian said, "It's growing faster than our revenue. So not only are we growing revenue, but we're also growing our remaining performance obligation." Google's cloud revenue is currently at $13.6 billion and growing at a 32% annual rate. The new revenues already under contract then suggest that the already rapid growth is going to do nothing but increase. Writes Ricardo Amato, Google Cloud's $106 billion backlog isn't just future revenue, it's proof of sticky demand. Over in Metaland, the company has signed a licensing deal with image generation startup Black Forest Labs. According to Bloomberg sources, the multi-year deal will see Meta commit to spend $35 million in the first year and $105 million in the second year. Now, this is, of course, the second big deal Meta has signed with an image generation startup, with Midjourney agreeing to a licensing deal for their aesthetic technology, that was the phrase they used, last month. The terms of that deal, however, were not disclosed. Black Forest, for their part, has signed a string of deals over the past year, including partnerships with Adobe, Canva, and Snap. One of their highest profile deals came last year when they partnered with xAI to power Grok's initial image generation capabilities. xAI has since developed their own image model, but the feature helped catapult Black Forest Labs to be seen as one of the leading startups in the category. A Bloomberg source said that Black Forest is currently generating $96 million in ARR and is expected to hit $300 million in ARR next year. Now, moving over to the world of models, the big dust-up around GPT-5 was not just that people were underwhelmed with the 5 model, but that OpenAI deprecated GPT 4.0. That led to a rebellion, which restored 4.0, and it seems like the company has learned their lesson. Nick Turley, the head of ChatGPT, posted on Tuesday, "Last month we announced that everyone now has access to advanced voice mode, with usage limits expanded from minutes per day to hours for free users and near unlimited for Plus. We also announced that standard voice mode would be retired after a 30-day sunset. We've heard feedback that standard voice is special to many, and we want to get this transition right. Standard voice will stay available while we address some of your feedback in advanced voice. Now, while standard voice isn't quite as beloved as GPT-4o, users still expressed a strong preference for retaining the choice. The replies to Turley's posts were filled with feedback on advanced voice mode. Some suggested it was lazier and less smart compared to the text models. Others noted that the more recent update seemed like a downgrade. At the same time, there was also sentiment that advanced voice mode is more performant in domains like handling customer service calls. Now, I think it's a really interesting question of whether there are meaningful differences that make older models better, or whether people just get really used to the models that they know and interact with. Lastly today, you may notice that even though Apple had a big launch event yesterday, we did not include it anywhere near the top of the AI headlines. The reason for that can be summed up in The Verge's headline about the event. Apple barely talked about AI at its big iPhone 17 event. Now, The Verge pointed out that last year Apple couldn't stop talking about Apple Intelligence, but this year the emphasis was very different. If you've seen anything about the event, you probably saw the incredibly thin iPhone Air, or maybe the Bitcoin Orange Pro Max. But if you were paying attention closely, there were some sneaky, subtle things that I think relate to Apple Intelligence and its future. One hint towards an AI future for the iPhone, for example, was an upgrade to the silicon powering the handset. Apple executives said that they were now including neural accelerators in each GPU core, providing what they said was MacBook Pro levels of compute in an iPhone. That could make iPhone 17 ready to power on-device models from Google, for example, if that partnership comes to fruition. The one place that there was a very distinct AI feature in the announcements was for the new AirPods Pro 3. In an upcoming feature, this new generation of AirPods will be capable of live in-person generation. Basically, this will work exactly as you expect. The AirPods will be aware of someone talking in a different language around you and will actually translate in basically real time what they were saying. From there, if you have your iPhone connected, you can simply speak your response and it will show it in the original language. Now, there are some folks who thought it was a little dystopian, but mostly people are pretty enthusiastic about this being a native feature of this device. I tend to think that even if it's a little weird at first and doesn't fully break down the linguistic barrier, the amount of engagement and new opportunity that it opens up will be more than worth the initial feeling of cringe. Still, overall, it feels like when it comes to Apple and AI, there was a very distinct choice here to not overemphasize Apple Intelligence and just build and set up for the future. We'll close the headlines there. Next up, the main episode.